Hey guys, it's the last day of 2018. Happy New Year. 2019 is going to be better. Anyways, this live video is about ultrasound therapy. And I was asked to tell you guys more about it by John. It's actually something that, at least for me, hasn't been readily available. And it hasn't been readily suggestible, meaning that up until now, well, 2 months ago, no one even mentioned trying it on my hip. Let me rephrase that, on my hip. I have had it done on my wrist, but it was a different one. The one that they did on my wrist was it was a thermal therapy. The machine part looks very similar, but the one they did on my wrist was thermal, meaning it doesn't topically feels a little warm but not hot. It is supposed to go at least 2 inches down, subcutaneous, meaning under your skin, and transmit the heat that way. And that heat for my wrist was supposed to relieve pain, which it did. Problem with that is we did it before we did exercises that made it hurt more. So in that case, I didn't have lasting effects because we ended up working it back to pain. This ultrasound is different. It's a smaller machine, so it's portable. And I actually was just looking on eBay because I'm very much debating buying one because it was like $45. Now, they can be dangerous depending on which one you get. The one that I was just talking about, thermal, you can burn your nerves and a lot of other things. The one they're using on my hip is a vibration based, meaning that it doesn't get warm at all. And if you've used a TENS machine or a TENS unit and you know that vibration, it's not that strong, but you can feel it. And I have nerve damage there and I can still feel it. So it's not strong, but you can feel it. You go, I think it's 15 to 20 minutes. You go around the area. For me, it's the front of my hip where the incisions were and the side of my hip. And so he's playing ball, sorry. The main intent is, for me, was to break up scar tissue and inflammation. I've had inflammation consistently, regardless of what medicine or other type of therapy that I've done, since the day after surgery. Probably before surgery, but noticeably after. At first, I'm not sure about the thermal one, but the one that I'm using right now, you can't tell what it's doing at first. It took probably 5 to 6 visits of 15 to 20 minutes apiece in order for me to notice results. And at first, I didn't even realize that I had been experiencing results because everything for me is very, very, very slow progress. So if it's just a slight change, it's very hard for me to judge. So when I first started noticing results, it wasn't, hey, I can do this better. Hey, I can do that better. Hey, the pain's better. It was more of a, before I would go to the grocery store, let's say an hour and a half trip, and be in bed for 2 days. If I went to PT, outpatient PT, I was in bed for at least 3 days, just constantly asleep, completely exhausted. After this PT, when we first started, it was at least a day and a half because it wasn't the same type of exercises or as long. So we do probably 10, I'm gonna guess, exercises, and it takes less than 20 minutes. So that definitely had a lot to do with the level of recovery that I needed after this type as opposed to the outpatient. But my recovery started being shorter. So when I went to the store, I could go back to the store the next day. And not to say that it didn't hurt, not to say that I wasn't tired, but it was doable where it was not before. So that was my first noticeable difference, my first noticeable change. The PT would ask me, do you think the ultrasound's working? Well, I can't really tell you pinpoint what exactly is working because we were doing the exercises. We were doing different types of exercises. We were doing the ultrasound therapy and manual circumduction, meaning that she takes my leg up into her arms and takes over all the weight bearing and moves it herself, and I have no part in that, which is very, very difficult. You wouldn't think, but it very much is. It's hard to release. I don't know if it's hard to release your muscles or if it's hard to release your mind. I'm not. If you should just try it. Have somebody pick up your leg and move it. Your muscles start trying to take over. Whether they're able to work or not, it's really, really weird. So we've done manual circumduction before, and that wasn't a noticeable difference. We've done exercises before for the last year and a half. That was not a noticeable difference. Now, I can do things that I wasn't able to do for the last year and a half. Like the clamshell. The clamshell is when you lay on your side in the fetal position and your knees are together, you raise one knee up. Seems very, very easy for most people, but for the last year and a half, I haven't been able to make my knee move whatsoever. Like, all of my muscles that I have contracting, gritting my teeth as much as I possibly can, and I haven't been able to move it. Same thing with straight leg raises from a lying position. If you recall, when I had my EMG, he told me, he crossed his arms and told me, I know what the problem is. You're just not trying. Because I couldn't raise my leg off the bed. Mind you, he also had a needle in my leg, and he also was applying resistance. So the 1 inch that I could do, I couldn't do. And I still probably couldn't do it if you put resistance on it. So, you know, it's very, very hard. But now I can do about 4, maybe 5 inches. I have this real bad habit of not breathing. So if you're going to do stuff like that, breathe. Make sure you're exhaling while you're doing stuff. I can't. Like, my pain kicks in and I either have to stop or not breathe. I know it's not very good, but it is what it is. Pain's not been my biggest hindrance thus far. It's been functionality and mobility and things like that. Putting on my sock, couldn't do it. Still can't tie my shoe, but I can put my sock on. So pain, it's usually around a 5 after I do my exercises. It's about a 7 after I do the ultrasound. It's maybe a 6, sometimes back down to 5. But for this ultrasound therapy, it takes a while to start working, to start noticing these effects, and it did for me too. And I thought for the first 5 visits maybe that this is a waste of time. It's not really working because it's not like the thermal one. You can't necessarily feel it, not necessarily healing, but warming and all of that. But it very much is helping. I will most likely, order one off of eBay or maybe a medical house, supply house or whatever. But you do have to be careful. You're supposed to be careful more with the thermal one, but it can still cause some damage. Less likely, but it still can. They have them at most PT, outpatient PT places. My in-home PT company only has one for the entire company, so it took a while to get started. But the outpatient almost always has it, and you can use the gel like you would for a stomach, like a baby ultrasound. You do have to have gel to conduct the vibrations or whatever, sound waves. But the cool thing is you don't have to use that gel necessarily. I've seen them also use biofreeze, because they have that in a gel type, and it works kind of the same way, but you're also getting a pain relief that lasts for, I don't know, maybe an hour. It's just dependent on the person, whether how long that lasts or not, but it does give an added pain relief, topical pain relief. I think I covered everything that I know to talk about the ultrasound, but I will be doing more research because, well, mainly because it's me and I like to do research, but I don't want to start performing something on myself that I don't know much about. So I will be doing more research, and the more research I do, I will update you, because if this is something that works, let's do it, right? Like, get on the bandwagon. But until then, all I can really tell you is my experience and how it's helped me. I'm hoping that the more we do it, because I'm not out of therapy yet, the more we do it, the more results I get. It's very exciting to even know just the really small results. I know it sounds silly to some people, but putting my sock on, I mean, it's very exciting. So again, as I get more information, I will update you guys. But I really appreciate all of your good vibes and prayers and your support in the last year and a half. It's been a really bumpy, rocky road, but you guys have helped a ton, and I really, really appreciate it.